Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me here. And today I'd like to spend a few minutes to introduce our platform for entrepreneurship, especially for technology entrepreneurship to develop their idea to industrialization in Hong Kong. Okay. So why Hong Kong? So I think after the pandemic, we have been gone through a lot of changes economically and a lot of changes in the business landscape. But Hong Kong is still Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is still a very vibrant place for establishing business. As you may know, that Hong Kong is famous for financial center and logistics center. And what I'm going to introduce to you, we are a technology, innovation and technology center in Asia. And I think if you economically, you can see that geographically that the Hong Kong is location in very middle in Asia, within 4 hours flight that you can access to most of the population in Asia. And but if you zoom into Hong Kong, Hong Kong has about 7 million people. Looking at a market of 7 million people is just very small. However, if you look at the cities in Guangdong area around Hong Kong, what they call Great Bay Area, and there's 70 million people, 70 million. So it's 10 times of Hong Kong. So that size is a pretty good population size to test out a lot of technology and market your products. And this is a very complementary to the area in Hong Kong where business are established. Okay, I think the uniqueness of Hong Kong, we always talk about business, logistics, finance, but not many people know that in about 1,000 kilometer area, Hong Kong has 4 to 5 universities within the QS 100. Within 50, we have 3. So in a city that has many QS 100 university, the research capability and intensity that you can imagine. So this is a very good opportunity for Hong Kong to develop technology from research to industry. Looking at the Hong Kong Science Park, so Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Corporation, we are the biggest incubator in Hong Kong. We have about 1,400 companies, tech ventures from startup to some more mature company, and from 23 different regions. So 80-20 rule, about 20% of our company coming from overseas, including mainland. Majority of them are local entrepreneurs. And the working population in the park is about 20,000. So how big is our park? It's about area-wise 0.2 kilometers square. The floor area for R&D offices is about 400,000 square meter of floor area, primarily for the dry lab, clean room, wet lab, and R&D offices set up. And within the 20,000 people, we have a stringent requirement of what company can be admitted to the science park. So at least you have to have 50% of the working staff are R&D nature. So as a statistic, we have R&D professional of 13,000. So about 70% of our population in the park are conducting R&D activities. All right. So after the pandemic, and we are still open for business, and we are very much open and invite everyone if you have a chance to stop by. And we also want to invite you to the park at have a discussion with us and see if we have any collaboration going along. So creating value. So in the park, that usually when you talk about science park, you talk about GDP. Yeah, GDP is important, and you have jobs and creation, because we are also a set up by the government. Then of course we are carrying some of the mission that to nurture R&D and industry. So in terms of creating values, the park company, we have about probably a few unicorn that you will just talk about. But we do have a mission to attract investment. We have a small corporate venture fund, and the gear ratio in the past many years, probably the past 5 years. So, and we have helped the company to raise about 83.5 billion Hong Kong dollar. In terms of Australian dollar, is about 16 billion. US dollar is about probably 10 billion. But the gear ratio is important. So whatever we invest $1, and we attracted $18 from the commercial sector to invest in the company in the park. So so far we have a completed deal of 300 deals, and have over 1,000 angel and investor network in working with our ecosystem. So these are the some of the examples of the unicorns. I'm not sure if you know there's a very famous prenatal testing called T21, which use the pregnant woman's blood to test out whether there are any disease with the baby, like a Down syndrome. So this one is invented by Professor Dennis Low. It's Chinese University of Hong Kong, a professor of medicine. And one of his research found that the baby's DNA somehow appear in the bloodstream of the pregnant woman. So that finding lead to one of his invention as a product to early test out of Down syndrome. So this is a very significant advancement, and of course this technology they have been licensed to and sold it to Grail, another biomedical company, and he continued his development into other early detection of a cancer. Similar idea that the cancer cells, the DNA appear in the bloodstream. So the other, surgical robotics, biomedical related as well. So Professor Samuel Au, and there are a couple of other AI and logistic companies that we have homegrown, becoming the unicorn. I want to particularly point out like a Smart More, Professor Jia. He turned from 0 to a unicorn within 1 year. And what he is doing is using AI in manufacturing quality inspection. Just inspection is so accurate and so fast that this one becoming a unicorn within 1 year. So they are also using Hong Kong as a platform to doing business and carry out their market expansion. That's what we call imported unicorns. There are a few. So in terms of the collaboration, we have what we call co-incubation program. So we collaborate with these big names to co-incubate startup. So what does co-incubation means? That they do have some particular pain point and business problem, and we co-incubate new startup company to tackle their particular business problem, or some of the challenges in their own right. So you can see there are many drug pharmaceutical company and some of the microelectronics and other area that we have been working with. Okay, and in terms of the 100 investors, these are some of the names that we collaborate with. They're in our investment network, and we encourage deal flow. For example, if some startup company come to us and asking, can you introduce us the relevant smart money investor that can help them excel? These are the pool that we have been working with, and we can do referral in this sake. So we are open to ideas. In terms of Science Park, besides the fact that we are an infrastructure company that help them to develop we develop premises and providing lands that for the company to either building their laboratory, factory, or other business. We also putting a lot of effort in terms of the so-called soft infrastructure. So what is the soft infrastructure? Is basically your network. That's why we are here, that you collaborate with the Gen, so that we can expand the network to support them. But we also provide a series of services to facilitate their development. So in different stage, a startup company their needs is different. Like when you do ideation, before even you form a company, we give you a little bit of money and let you stay with your blue sky, imagine your stuff and come out with a proof of concept before you set up a company. We do offer a lot of training, okay? And then incubation, you formally form a company and we measure you by milestone. There are KPI that you need to deliver, all right? So we also encourage early failure. I mean, if you can't make the milestone, you better go back to the drawing board again, and then we start the whole thing before you're getting too deep and waste your time. And then if you have viable product, then we have other acceleration program, and then elite program that give you more resources to excel in a different business. And this is the part that we support them to make the product, okay? Maybe minimum viable product, product market mix, if you will. At the next stage, that scale out and scale up, and another reason that we bring some startup here to this congress, and try to explore the opportunity with different market. This is another service that we help them to commercialize as well as to expand. And particularly, I want to talk about one particular service that we do is the laboratory and prototyping and also pilot production service that you see in the bottom. We run a lot of these stuff. Although the providing premises is one of our major business model, means that we collect rent, and the money that we collect goes to supporting the startup. Making money is not our goal, So we set up a lot of communal laboratory services. So we even have an animal facility for drug safety testing. Okay, so that's why the tech company, they just basically bring in their brains and of course computer, and you can conduct your research and development in the park. And besides that, we also have a pilot production services for something like electronics products. And some of the startup has a pain point that even you go through the first valley of death for making the minimum viable product. You have to go through another valley of death where your product can or cannot be mass produced. The reason behind, if you have a product to attract investment, the basic thing that you need to do is that you have a customer endorsement. Customer endorsement means that you probably give them thousands, if not 10,000 of sample, so that they can test in the market. So who is providing the 10,000 unit for you? Okay, if you are so small and you don't know how to talk to the manufacturer to get things produced, the language is just not in the DNA of the researcher. A lot of the researcher, how to optimize cost for manufacturing, design for manufacturing. You trade off between cost and the performance without compromising safety. This is a basic. Otherwise, you spend too much time in dealing with the manufacturing process. You lost market. Lost market means that you lost value in your startup business. So we have we call pilot production services that train them on how to manufacture. After the training, okay, of course they get 10,000 units for testing market. At the same time, they get all the files for the manufacturing setup. Means that they can go to any manufacturer in the world that they can seamlessly produce the product. Of course, they need the investment and also endorsement from customers as well. So these are the services that we produce. So we so-called we call research to industry bridging. That's what we mostly do. Of course, we support them by different funding and also attracting commercial funding to support them. So the RIF is one of the key description of what we do. Okay. So again, we open to any of you that you may be able to use any part of our system to enable your startup venture. We welcome you to participate in our ecosystem, and we also like to collaborate more with Jen so that we can help the startup and the entrepreneur to expand the market and also expand the collaboration with the rest of the world. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you to Dr. HLU for that amazing introduction of HKSTP. So, before we sort of begin this best practices for, expanding your market expansion strategies, this session really aims to give entrepreneurs some proven methods and innovative approaches to penetrate new markets and achieve sustainable growth. So I would like to invite an amazing panel of speakers to really give us some insights on this particular topic. So first, I'd like to invite Jeff Hoffman, the chairman of the board of GEN, Rebecca Huang, the managing director of GEN US, and also the co-founder of Carle Ventures, Jaron Teo, the managing director of GEN Singapore, Mattis Zhang, managing director of Aerosim, an HKSTP star company, Peter Goldsworthy, general manager of startups at LaunchVic, and finally, moderating the session, we have Fiona Khan, the associate director of business development at HKSTP. Welcome.
Gwen. So thank you for joining our panel discussions. As today we have 5 distinguished panelists to share their experience and the methodology and how they help the startup to go globally, from a geographic perspective. As let me get started with Jeff, because Jeff is a successful entrepreneur, very devoted to helping startup globally. So I would like to get some advice from you, how you would give the entrepreneurs to the advice on amplifier market expansion strategy, and what is the success story that you could share with us?
Sure. So the reason we're here is that's the whole beauty of this park, right? Is that and I like that the last slide that you presented was open to all, because when you go to expand into a geography that you are not familiar with and it is not your home, it's not a great idea to try to do it on your own. Having a partner on the ground that's there, that knows the culture, that knows the laws, that knows the talent pool, that has the connections is important. So in fact, we went through that. We went through that probably before you guys started the park, but we came over, so this was with the travel business. And when we went out to try to expand, we literally went to Hong Kong first and found out really fast that we were drowning because we didn't know any of those things. So we tried on our own a little bit and it was not a good start. And we backed up and said, we need an on-the-ground partner we'll just share our business with, but we need somebody that's already there. So as I told you guys at dinner last night, we found a local partner and we went to them and said, we'll partner with you. You help bring our business to Hong Kong and all the surrounding areas. And I don't think we would have been successful in Asia had we not had local partners on the ground. So I wish I had known what you guys are hearing today, but you have a partner, you have a friend there that you should go to and not try to do it yourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So Rebecca, so you are a serious entrepreneur and running your venture fund in Latin America. Can you share about the experience, how you help the company expanding in Latin America or from Latin America to global?
Yes, in Latin America, we have a similar situation as in Asia, which is that not every country has enough market size to be able to just stay in the country. Also, we have a lot of instability from the political perspective. So what happens is that normally when a company comes out of Argentina, immediately they're thinking about expansion. Brazil and Mexico being the main targets because they're the biggest markets in terms of population. But when we talk about best practices, we often forget to talk about timing. And timing is probably a lot more important than whether you expand or not. I'll give you an example. In the case of Yelp, which is the US company where you find reviews on food and restaurants, I was really close to the founding team when they're just starting. And they just wouldn't go outside of the US. And I kept asking, why don't you go to Argentina, to Mexico, to Canada, to Europe? And they said, there's so much market still to conquer in the US, and until we actually get really good at understanding the operations in our ecosystem, moving too fast can be deadly for a company. And we have seen this a lot in Latin America as well. It increases operating costs. Sometimes you lose in learning as much as possible from your local ecosystem. And so the story becomes weak when you go to a Silicon Valley investor, for example, and yes, you're in 10 countries, but every country looks really weak. And that's much worse than having a lot of traction in one country. Same thing from Asia, a lot of questions that I get asked is when to come to San Francisco to raise money. And it's always much more compelling to have enough traction locally than going a little bit too early. Because San Francisco investors, Silicon Valley investors have a bit of an attention deficit. So if we heard about you last year and you come back in 1 year and you haven't exploded, then we just got bored, right? And so you don't want to give too much of an appetizer unless you're really sure that the next time you'll come and talk to the investors, you have something to show.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Hey, Jaren. So, well, we met Jaren in Singapore, and you are the ecosystem builder, and also that like actively like helping the young entrepreneurs to expand to Asian markets. Can you share some like from yours?
Yeah. First, I definitely need to thank Hong Kong Science and Technology Park because 10 years ago, one of the companies we invested in our family office that I'm part of, we gave the first $2 million check to Professor Ma, who then created Time Medical. It was just an idea. He believes that MRI machines are so expensive in the market. The GEs, the Philips are charging so much for MRI machines, over $1 million. He can do it 1/3 the price. And how so? You don't need such sophisticated magnetic coils. You can do it with 0.35 Teslas. And we want to serve the market needs with neonatal MRI machines, right? Because babies' MRIs are pretty much not available. And what happens was no one was there to support him. He's a Chinese entrepreneur. He came to Singapore. Our family office looked at him. We invested the first 2.2 million check, and then Hong Kong Science and Technology Park incubated that. So they had the manufacturing in Hong Kong, and now also building a plant. They have a new plant in Hong Kong, and also building a plant in Andhra Pradesh, in Vizag, south coast of India, for another manufacturing plant to support the rest of the world. And one thing that we clearly learned is not about just the manufacturing capabilities, also the expansion of the business relies on sales. So because they are headquartered in Singapore, they are able to also access the ASEAN market. And the ASEAN market, of course, Singapore, as you know, we don't have space for MRI machines manufacturing. That's why Hong Kong is a great place. But the ASEAN market is very complex, right? You have 10 different cultures and languages. How do you do that? And it's not exactly straightforward. Apart from Singapore, because of the rules and regulations, it's very transparent. But we were thankful enough, we had some certain political ties and certain business owners in the space. We were able to sell to a couple of hospitals in Indonesia and some parts of Southeast Asia. I think it comes to a point where you need to know people. So in my work at GEN Singapore, we're able to connect deeper levels to the rest of the GEM MDs. GEN gives a great platform for us to do so. And we run events, programs to support these entrepreneurs because we know it's not about the amount of cash that you have raised, it's about the network and the quality of the network who give you the access, open the doors for you. These are things that money can't buy. Yeah.
Can I agree with you more? Yes. So Mantis is the general manager of Aerosim, so the aviation simulator and training system. So he also is the star company of Hong Kong STP. So Mantis, like as a senior management, that you have successfully like leading your company expand into Australia market and Malaysia market. Can you share like your journey, how to do that?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very kind. Firstly, I'm still the managing director for Aerosim, not yet the general manager. Hopefully one day, hopefully someday, not sure. We homegrown in Hong Kong, and we are usually not very good in doing business entrepreneurship. That is the truth, because we do a lot of, when we do our bachelor, the way of training is to train us to be a work staff, working in the bank, working in the management team. We are not very good in taking risk. From the day I was born, my parents was telling me, Mike, don't take risk. Just go and find a job, 10 grand, 20 grand, and just buy a new car, buy a home, and just have your family, or so forth. So doing businesses for Hong Kong local homegrown is not very easy. But with the help of Science Park, we were being taught in a way that, hey, now is a new generations, a gig generations. We have, if you like it, just have a Uber app and then you can do your business. So we challenge ourselves, and I challenged myself. I gave up a pretty good job of being a pilot, and also gave up my job for the second time, being a university lecturer, and do this business. And I found it very, very challenging. And just now your questions about how to grow in the other market. I would say I've been having a big problem in trusting people that is willing to help. So I've been into the market, talk to people, keep talking to the people, looking for different opportunity. And one more thing about getting started in somewhere is I usually start very small. For example, in Australia, I ran a shed. I ran a very small storage space to actually start moving things into Australia and demo and show other people what I do. So I haven't been very successful like Jeff. He has been very successful in that area. And he can tell you the whole story. I can only tell you the middle part of my story. Probably 10 years later, I will tell you the other half of my story. Yeah, but that's what I do. Like, I start very, very small. Right? Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, thank you, Mattis. You're too humble. So, Pete, thank you. So, Pete, your mandate at Launchvic is helping startup to up and running in Victoria market. So can you share what kind of help that you are helping to start here?
Yeah, I mean, to the panel question or amplifying your market expansion strategies, first, I agree with all of the other panel members. Obviously, network and obviously being able to build a product and sales. These are the key things. We approach it, and I'll answer. And we help in these ways as well. But I'll answer the question a bit of a different way. One of our core programs that we run, we see that to be able to export and be able to go overseas, you have to fix your home base first. And what I mean by that is really your back office. And it sounds pretty boring, but a lot of fast-growing, focused on sales, even focused on international markets, get a lot of operational debt. They forget about their HR ops and finance teams, and they can be the things that hemorrhage a company. I was a founder. That's what hemorrhaged my company. It was finance. It was silly things, not having enough guardrails in place, and all these things are things that can be trained. But a lot of the leaders in those spaces haven't been at a scale up that has grown so fast that it is actually breaking at the seams. And so that's what Launchvic, our program 30 by 30, attempts to do, is to make all of those leaders world class. Thank you, Pete.
So my next questions that I would like to get the advice from Jeff, what should company do to avoid global extension failure?
Oh, I got this one. You said global expansion failure?
Yes, global, because you're more global. Yes.
Sure. The good news is I think they answered it.
Yes.
Right? And especially what Rebecca said, because people move too fast. And I like here's what we tell people in the online business. People are trying to drive more and more traffic because they think that numbers, those top line numbers, are what matter. Actually, to build a good business, an investable business, you need less customers and ones that give you a 10 out of 10 rating. If you have 1,000 customers and everyone rates you 10 out of 10 and they return to buy again, that is more valuable than having 10,000 customers who never come back and they rate you 5 out of 10. So the same thing happens in global. And Rebecca said that. People expand too fast because we got to take over the whole world. Actually, you're not going to get a second chance. If you go too fast and your customers rate you 5 out of 5, or what you said, your organization breaks at the seams because you can't deliver to demand. It's a thing people forget sometimes is success also kills companies. You take on so many orders and you grow so fast that you cannot, in fact, service your customer. And you're looking, we're doing great, look at all these sales. Actually, you're about to shut down because in a social media world, when you can't fulfill all the demand that you sold, the market turns against you, the investors leave. So expanding too fast and focusing on top line numbers instead of early on getting that 10 out of 10 customer rating and doing a really good job where you are, that's the mistake we see most often.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So Rebecca, you also are the professor of the entrepreneurship program at Stanford. I would like to hear from you how you teach your student when they get started.
I wish I was her student. She's amazing.
No, I laugh because I'm trying to debate whether I should tell you the story. I'll tell you the story. So I created a new class at Stanford called Redefining Human Creativity in the AI Era. I started to teach it because I really wanted to find out the answer, and the best way for me to learn is to teach something. And so I had these 65 students, they're guinea pigs, and I'm trying to convey this next era, next phase that we have. And usually I try to be very immersive because knowledge, textbook stuff, they can get anywhere on TikTok, really. They can learn entrepreneurship on TikTok these days. So I had a challenge for them. There are 4 students that never worked with each other, and they had a goal, a mission, which was to solve a Rubik Cube in 11 minutes, blindfolded. Okay, so the person managing the Rubik Cube had to be blindfolded. But they had a partner who could find information on how to solve this and communicate that to the person with the leader, with the cube, in some way or fashion. Then there are 2 members with undefined roles. So imagine trying to tell somebody blindfolded to make the moves. It's harder than you think, because how do you describe 2 to the left, 1 to the front, the red square has to be, it's really hard. So 11 minutes, the teams who are really quick at catching on, they looked at AI tools on their phones, and they had exactly the formula. They took pictures of each part of the Rubik Cube, and then they had exactly the formula. They learned how to communicate. To make it harder, the leader folding the cube and blindfolded also had to do a wall sit. So their legs are burning, and most humans who are not super athletes can actually last maybe a minute, comfortably. So all these, crazy distractions. And in the middle of that, I decided to fulfill a very deep secret desire of mine, which is to throw balls at my students, to punish them. And I'm frustrated, but you can't do that in the US, so this is snowballs, they don't really hurt you, but I was throwing at them these balls to also create more distractions on their focus. Here's a crazy interesting thing. 3 teams actually solved the Rubik Cube blindfolded in less than 11 minutes. The teams that were actually successful had the person who was doing the wall sit actually lasted longer, so they could learn from their mistakes faster. They didn't have to start over every time that they had to switch people to do the wall sit all over again. And then the other key to success was that the 2 people with no role, it was, for me, a metaphor of the next era, right? Because we're going to have half of the team in every organization will have no roles now. They're replaceable, or they're replaced by AI. But when I was throwing the balls, funnily enough, a fraction of the students were just staring at me, throwing the ball, without really doing anything about it. And a fraction of the class actually, said, okay, so I have no role, but there is this obstacle that's coming to my leader. So now my new role is defense. So they were, defending from the attack. Those teams did better because they had less distractions. All of this in 11 minutes. They hadn't really even known each other or worked with each other. And so I do a lot of those exercises that are metaphorical and that are very practical in understanding quick failure, iteration, communication, fun, playfulness, but also like redefining your role as you go because you don't know how to do that from a structured place.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. We hope to have you two having a class in Hong Kong.
You're going to try it today?
Yes.
I was seated here,
Yes.
and then you throw balls at us.
Hey, Jaren, I learned about your failure experience before when you enter into China market. Maybe can you share with the audience about that?
So our portfolio company, what happens is that they were too fixated on how they want to enter the market. Remember I shared with you about 0.35 Tesla, but then again, you have certain traditional healthcare institutions that refuse to use that, or they just want to use GE and Philips because they are branded brands, right? And as an entrepreneur, of course, what they have to do is to keep an open mind, right? Just like keeping it open in every case, is to find alternatives. And what they eventually did, you know what? Instead of doing for neonatal for babies, they do it for pets. Why? Because there are more pets than babies now in China. It's the same thing. To be honest, you go to the vet, right? How do I do MRI on my pets? There's nothing built for that. But the things that are done for the babies can be used for pets. It fits nicely. Yeah, so it works. So now vets are buying them, right? Yeah, so it's just about tweaking, right? Don't be too fixated on like the use case, right? You know your product works, you know it does well, you go to where your customers will be, right? Because sales matters the most, right? In your ventures, right? That's why you do a business. You want it to be profitable. Yeah, so I guess this is one of the ways. And of course, many other things, the Singapore companies who are trying to expand, there was this program. So the Chinese did a program to get foreign entrepreneurs, give them the grant to use for China expansion. But one problem was they had to match with foreign investments in. When the money comes in, it's a little bit challenging. I mean, I'm just saying openly, without any caveats as what. It's quite hard to take the money out. So this is real problem, right? So what happens is that they know that they have to buy a lot of raw materials, a lot of key ingredients or supplies comes from China. China has all this supply chain issues already fixed, already all intact, right? The different chips you need, raw materials, it's all there. So they use it as an expense account in China and then export the raw materials and ingredients out of it and have it assembled in Singapore. Yeah. And when Singapore got too expensive, they went to our neighboring country, Malaysia, which is 1/3 the price. So they are very resourceful in a way, right? Knowing how to go around, navigating through. I think that's something that we, through a lot of mentorship from established and experienced entrepreneurs, they were able to overcome certain obstacles and get the results, the end goal that they want. Yeah.
Thank you, Jaren. So Mantis, can you tell us what's your next market expansions plan?
Oh, we already have Malaysia and Australia, but still, I mean, I'm very lazy. I'm just too lazy. When it comes to time zone differences, I can't do it. So I just get very fixated. But just now, somebody mentioned about when I think Professor mentioned about the market. When the market is good enough, we really doesn't need to export into other different regions, or not yet. I mean, we can still, there's some still food on the table that we can use or consume. So in our next move, will definitely be still around the Asia Pacific region. And in Malaysia, we already have working with University of Malaya, which is in KL. Then we still have the eastern side of Malaysia, which is the BKI Kota Kinabalu. And we had start something in Brisbane, but we still have something to do in Melbourne, South Australia, Perth, Darwin. There's still a lot to do. So we haven't been good enough. We'll work harder and even harder for it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Hey, Pete, I know you have a program that helping unicorn to do the market expansions. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, it's the one that I was just mentioning before. So we work in those areas of capability building for HR ops and finance, but the other part of it is helping them with their global expansion. And what we find there, and it's been touched on a bit, so I won't go into too much, but helping them with introductions in market through our sister agency, Global Victoria. So, feet on the street basically, and introductions from the local government there. So, to people who might be hiring decisions or regulatory, that's one of our biggest sectors is medtech. So if they're interested in the US, they need to know more about the regulatory frameworks there. And then, any other sort of networks, whether it's commercial as well. But I was going to add into the question that you asked, Jeff, earlier, was that, what's the biggest sort of not challenge, the thing that sets them up to perhaps fail is that we see a lot of companies, they might have a financial budget for entering a market, but they don't consider all the other elements that can be impacted. And things like if you're a SaaS company and you're thinking about product roadmap and how much that impacts with localization, and you just think, oh yeah, they're just going to use the same app, but actually it's not. And so you just got to really plan out those things as well as operational debt, like what else is going to accumulate because you are now taking on another tax region. And so people just go, okay, it's going to cost $1 million, but actually it's going to cost a lot more than that.
Yeah. So like for the company like LSIM, so Matters, if he decided to set up the office here, would you be able to help?
We're domestic focused, but if Matthias wanted to move here and set up the HQ here, then we are all ears.
So there's one thing that I think everyone here is not for the money. But I'm there for the money. So I just got to be very honest, and I'm not. I'm just now. Fiona were asking me what is the next big things. She was talking about the original one, but we entered Science Park as an incubator, and I'm not sure if I can spill this, but I'm just going to tell it truthfully. The incubation program is around 300,000 Australian dollar without taking our IP or any interest or anything. And then we also enter the acceleration program, which is worth around $1 million Australian dollars. There's some convertible bonds that we need to commit with. The next big thing will be, because we already graduated from our acceleration program, I'm looking for the elite program, which give us additional 4 million Australian dollar to actually keep pushing down to the southern market, which is the big thing for us. I'm hoping that in the next, I would say, 8 weeks or 12 weeks, to persuade my account manager for it. Yeah, that's the next
You will
big
get
thing.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask the final question. So, I think you already cover a lot. So, I just want to get some final thought, and comment about the topic that I didn't cover. I really want to get some, more. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Could you ask your question again? Sorry.
Start with Jeff. So, anything that you would like to touch on, other than.
I already mentioned my big thing, so
Yes.
that's really my goal, for the money to actually continue expanding my market.
I guess to sum it up, being an entrepreneur is do whatever it takes to make that baby become a success, right? Because it's all your heart and soul and sweat and tears and blood putting into it, right? So do what it takes to make it a success. Hong Kong is a great place also for Singapore entrepreneurs, but if you're also looking at Southeast Asia, you can also look at Singapore possibly, and we're more than happy to also look to support one another to grow. Yeah.
I think whether you expand fast or not is, the metaphor I would use is, are you the kind of parent who can have twins or have babies in sequence? I have 2 children. I needed 3 full years to really learn from all the mistakes I made with number 1. And then by the time number 2 came, now this one will be perfect, right? But there are some organizations that are really equipped to doing things in parallel, and leaders who are actually good at multitasking and learning at the same time. So you have one office in Mexico, one in Argentina, and they do trade that information quite efficiently. Many organizations are not good at that. We are much better at having babies in sequence. And so understanding who you are is very important in this process of planning or expansion, and how you can quickly learn and iterate either in parallel or in series. And that's a self-reflection you have to have.
Okay, I will close this out wearing my hat as the chairman of GEN. And I am going to say that partnership is everything. We announced at this conference our new partnership between Jen and the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. Why? Because we fundamentally believe the key to global expansion, which is our responsibility for all of you. That's why we created Jen, that's why we have GEC, is to help all of you grow. And clearly the way we think to do that is by partnering with the right people in the right regions, and that's why we are so proud of our new partnership with you guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jeff. So thank you for your time and Laura sharing. Thank you. I think we are end of this panel sessions. I think we can start to learn about the startup pitch downstairs. So we are excited to hear that. Thanks.